Now we're going to piece bag B1. I'm going to demonstrate the first 3 sections, and then the rest of the sections are done exactly the same as section 3. This is the same method we used to piece the Lone Star units. I'm going to demonstrate just unit BL, but unit BR is done the exact same way. To do this, we need our glue stick, rotary cutter, add a quarter ruler, and your template, your fold template. The sections we stacked previously when we cut the fabric are placed up here, and I have the sew sides facing away from me, and we leave these here at the top. We're going to start with section 1, and remember that section 1 fabrics are always glued to the foundation paper. Section 1 is the only fabric that's glued to the foundation. And also remember, we're going to have section 1 fabrics with the wrong side facing up. And as we cut these, we had the right sides facing up. So let's remove the paper and flip these over. And I'm going to fan them out just a little bit so they're easier to pick up. Now let's pick up the first one from the stack. We're going to place the unit section over the fabric just like this. So if you look at the shape of the fabric, you see it's straight here, it has an angle coming down, and it's straight across here, which is roughly the shape of this section here. Next we take our glue, and if you look at the lines that were drawn, since we drew our lines, we can see that this is the area that needs to be covered with this fabric. This is my section 1 area. So this is where we're going to place the glue. Just put a little streak of glue there, and we'll turn this over, match the fabric, and then let's go with the next one. I'm going to turn all of these over. And now these aren't marked, I just marked the first one, because everything is going to be laid exactly like these were. So here we are, we're stacking and gluing again. Bring this out just a little. Now all of section 1 is glued to all of the 8 foundation units, and we're going to do the second part now. We turn the unit so we can read line 1. If we worked it this way, we wouldn't be able to read line 1. It's upside down. So we're going to turn it this way, where we can read line 1. I'm going to place the fold template on line 1, fold back, use the add a quarter ruler, and trim. And then we'll place this off to the side. Do all of these just like that. Now the next step, we will match section 2 to section 1, and so it will be ready for piecing. So we'll move these off to the side. Now we'll bring down section 2, and our sew side is facing away, and these will be right sides up, so you don't have to flip these. but I am going to fan them out so they're easier to work with. I'm going to take my first piece and lay it horizontal on the mat. And if we take this where we have marked our lines, you can see the shape of this spike here. Since we marked our lines, we can see the shape of the spike. And you'll see that it matches the shape of this fabric. So this fabric needs to cover this area inside here. Let's move it out. We're going to pick this up and match the edges. The edge we just trimmed with the sew side edge. And again, we're going to check this side to make sure there's enough fabric. This is the end of our paper, and we see the black fabric underneath. And we can see that we only need to cover up to this point, but the fabric is moving out this way. This is also another long piece. It's not as long as the Lone Star block, but if you want, you may want to glue this down like we did before in the seam allowance. You know, a glue here, a here, and here. But I'm not going to glue these, but you can do it if you wish. Then we're going to place this on a ruler like this. We're going to lay it on this ruler so we can just bring the whole ruler to the machine when we're ready to sew. So let's move this out of the way and I'll do the second one. Now this one you can see is not marked, but when you're at home looking, you can faintly see the lines underneath. If it's difficult for you to see these lines, then you might want to go back and trace those lines, those dashed lines again. So we'll put this piece down and we'll match the tops and make sure you have plenty of fabric on either side. Then if we move this ruler back in, we're going to stagger it just like this so they're easy to pick up later. Let me do one more. Place the fabric down, match the two tops, check for your fabric, and layer it on your ruler. I'll go and finish the rest of these and we'll come back. Just like we did with the Lone Star units, we're going to pick one unit up at a time with our 2 fingers and 2 thumbs. Let's move this out of the way. And we're going to bring it to the machine and hold this down so it'll stay in place. Now if you've glued it, you don't have to worry so much about it moving. And then you're going to flip this over and look for your line 1. Here's line 1. We're going to start on the end a little bit off, stitch all on solid line 1, and stitch to the end of line 1. And you see this line 1 does not go off the paper, it stops. You can stitch just a little bit off of that. When the line stops, you can stitch a few more stitches. And do that to all of these. So I'll do these and show you. Now I have sewn on line 1 and I put some red fabric in here so you can see. I started at the end of line 1 and I stitched off just a few stitches. And I wanted to show you something else. If you follow line 1, you see it comes here and it crosses. If you were to look at this line, which is actually line 2, see it goes on here and it's line 2. It crosses here and goes to the edge. So if you looked at this edge, you might think that this was line 1, but it's actually not. That's why you have to be careful that you read the line. And if you look here, it also crosses the seam allowance here. And that probably doesn't make too much of a difference here, but you see line 2 crosses line 3. So these lines are going to be crossing down here and on the other side. So just be careful of that you're always stitching on the correct line. But you see the red thread here. I stitched off the line and I stayed on the line 1 all the way down and stitched a few stitches off the line. It stopped about right here. So do that to all of them. And when you're finished stitching these, you take them to the ironing board and turn them over like this. and you'll press away from the fabric you just added, the spike fabric. Press all of those down, and then we'll come back and do section 3.